And we're going to get going. All right, so welcome into the Outlook Advanced class. Like I said, today we're going to be taking a look at some of the advanced features of Outlook, and we're going to be using 365 for that. So in addition, we're also going to be looking at Power Automate, so just some of the additional workflows that you can use with Microsoft Outlook to help you automate a lot of what you're already doing, but it's taking you time to do it. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. And then I feel like I should ask, can you guys see my screen? You should be able to see my inbox. Everybody's shaking their head. Okay, fantastic. Let me move back to Brady Bunch view on the other screen here so I can see. And I need to move my bar here. Go into the other screen. All right, fantastic. Then the only other thing I want to do here is get my chat box up in case anybody throws something into the chat box. I'd like to be able to see that too. And then we'll keep going. All right, so the first thing I want to take a look at is how to customize what you're actually seeing on the screen. And I don't know if anybody does this with theirs, but I like to be able to tell, one, if something is important enough, I want to color code it a different color coming in, and that might be by person, it might be by date, it might be by, however we want to do that. It might just be with new emails. Maybe you want to color code them. That's totally fine. So if you go into, on here, somebody just popped in. If you go to view from your settings, and then this view settings option, and then inside of this window, you'll see a conditional formatting. And inside of here, you can decide what you're going to adjust. So in this case, if I want to take a look at my unread messages and I want to apply something to them, so I would turn off all the other stuff because I just want to apply it to my unread messages. If I want to change my font, maybe I want it to be like all wonky looking. If I want to change the color, maybe I want to change it to red so I see those stand out really well. Turn that on, and boom, anything that's unread is going to show up just like that. So helpful if you need to be able to glance through a lot of email all at one shot, and especially if you're just looking at the new ones. With the changes to Microsoft Outlook coming through, and especially with 365, a lot of you will see at least 4 changes a year. Some of them are a little bit faster than that to Outlook. So being able to, color code or change the font or whatever you need to do is very helpful, because occasionally, even though they do come through bolded, they're still pretty small and it's hard to tell some of the new email that comes in, especially if you don't have them sorted by new. So again, that's in view settings, on your conditional formatting, on your unread messages if you want to do those. You can also do your unread group header. So if you group them, you can do that as well. The submitted but not sent, expired email, overdue email, for those of you that use tasks inside of Outlook, that's what those are. Any types of messages in other folders, and site mailbox document, if there's something pending an upload. Most people don't use that, but just so you know that it's there. So you can adjust the conditional formatting on any of that. I'm actually going to switch my font to something a little bit easier to read instead of that. Just so it's Arial so we can see it just a little bit better, because it's a little too wonky. There we go. All right, fantastic. So now I can see all of my new email that's coming in. The other thing with Office 365 that I want you guys to be aware of is that you do have a focused group of emails now, as well as an other group of emails. The differences between those, the focused ones is the things that it knows that you know, like if I know somebody, I've been emailing them fairly frequently, it's always going to go into the focused group. If it's coming from the outside world, or if it's a mailer or a newsletter or something like that that's addressed to a bunch of other people, it's generally going to go into this other folder. So there's 2 things that it's sorting there for you already. The other thing is that you do have a junk email option now inside of Office 365. So because I don't know Dave's Gmail address, it automatically dumped them into my junk box, which is where, mail from Dave should go anyway. But that's where it is. If I want to pull it back out of my junk email, There's a couple different things that I can do. One, I can right click on it, go down to junk. I can decide whether I want to block that sender. If it's somebody that I don't want email from, I can block them. I can choose to never block the sender, never block the sender's domain, which again, we probably don't want to ever block things from Gmail because you just never know when you're going to get email from somebody from there. I can tell them that it's not junk, or I can go into other options. So I'm going to jump into the other options there for just a second so you can see what that looks like. But inside of here, you can choose to do no filtering, low filtering, high, safe list only, all kinds of interesting things. So you can actually permanently delete any type of suspected junk email instead of moving it to the junk email filter as well. Microsoft itself, for those of you who are in the cloud version of Office 365, it does do a lot of filtering of your mail for you already. So what's ending up in the junk email probably is something that you want, you just may not need it for any real reason. So just make sure that you're aware that it's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Dave's email from my junk list because I actually do want email from Dave. I'm going to specify that it's not junk. It's going to ask me if I always want to trust from Dave. Yes, I do. It's going to take it out of my junk folder. It's going to put it back up into my inbox. And I now have it up there. So just something you need to be aware of for those of you who have just moved to Office 365 not too awful long ago. So that is the difference there. And that's how the filtering works. So the next thing I want to take a look at past that conditional formatting. For those of you who use the newer version of Outlook, the conversations that go on inside of Outlook, the way that Outlook stores them and tracks them and stacks them together, for some people is really annoying. So you can do a couple of different things. You can store things as conversations. So let's say that I reply to Dave here. I send that off. So I now have something in my sent items. That's fantastic. But if I show things as a conversation, what you noticed here is that little blue arrow just showed up. And it also shows that I've sent a reply because I now have a conversation going. And I'm choosing to show my conversations. So whether or not you choose to turn that on or off is completely up to you. I find that it gets a little bit cluttered in the inbox, especially if I'm trying to hunt for things. But there are different settings that you can use in here. So you can choose to show messages from other folders. So if you've deleted something or something's in your send box, it'll turn it on. If it's in your conversation list, it'll show it on there for you. It'll show the sender above the subject, which generally you want because you want to know who it came from. And then you can choose to always expand the selected conversation. So instead of having the, instead of having the information in there, it'll just expand it out on automatically. And then you can also use the classic indented view if you want to do that. And it shows you which one I haven't looked at yet as well. So that's how those work. I'm going to turn those off.
Hey, Dawn, I have a question.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, like the webinar today, I actually got that in the other mailbox instead of the focused.
Mm-hmm.
Why would that happen? Because it's from you. It's from a
so
legit,
it's actually, yeah, it's legit, but it was from Zoom instead of from me directly.
Oh, okay.
So you would have recognized something directly from me and it would have gone into your focus box, but something from Zoom, it's like, okay, I know you definitely want that, but it's not from somebody that I necessarily know all the time or email all the time. So if you were sending emails back and forth to Zoom, it would automatically, yeah, it would automatically go into your focus box.
Okay.
Tom, you have a question? Or are you just playing with your hand?
No, I actually have a question. So on my Outlook on my Droid phone, we're talking about conversations. Everything appears sort of all together in one. Is that what it would do on here? Things in conversations?
Yeah. So when you turn the conversations on, this is what it looks like. Like there's the little box. Drop it down. That's the conversation inside of Outlook.
And that's where all of the emails pertinent to that conversation show up under one sort of heading.
Correct.
I find that
Correct.
really annoying on the phone because, like you said, it's really hard to find, number one, a specific email. Number two, the chronology is not always
In the right order. Yeah.
right.
Yep. Yeah, which sometimes it's nice, like I said, if you have a very quick conversation going back and forth and you're not using Teams for it, it's kind of nice for that. So you can kind of look down through it really quickly. But when you have something that's going on over a couple of days or a couple of weeks, it gets really annoying. So again, it's up to you whether you want to turn it on or turn it off. But either way, it's in your view menu. If you don't like it, just turn it off and it goes away. Gone. All right, cool. So there's that. Talked about the conversations. Do you guys all use message preview, the preview pane? Okay. A couple different things that you can do with that as well. So on your message preview, which is still in your view ribbon here, you can either turn it off, you can give yourself 1 line, you can give it 2 lines, or you can give it 3 lines. So depending on how you want to look at your email and how much you want to see at any time, you have the ability to give yourself a little bit more information on any of those, if Dave actually would ever send me anything with more information than just 1 line. See if he'll do that. There we go. There's a little bit more. But basically, it just gives you additional information to turn on and a little bit more line spacing on the actual email. So that's under message preview. And again, you can turn it on for 1 line, 2 lines, or 3 lines. It should be 1 line by default. There we go. Thank you, Dave. So there's additional information. If I put it to 3 lines, adjust it, and then you can see what that looks like on his gobbledygook. So again, preferences, whatever you like. I like mine at 1 line because I don't like to be able to see too awful much stuff. Does anybody use flags? Some of you do. Okay. So let's talk about flags for just a couple of minutes. Up here, you're able to turn flags on or off or do whatever you need to do. You can also adjust your flag status on some of these. You can flag by start date if you want to do that. And I'm going to actually move this over just a little bit. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my reading pane down to the bottom because it's easier to see flag status on some of these. So if I wanted to turn a flag on or off or do whatever I need to do with it, I can do that. They're out here on the end by default. You can move these over a little if you need to. So flagging these basically adds them up as a to-do item for yourself. So you now have something on your to-do list. Should you choose to do that? Some people like to do that, some people don't. You can turn them on or off as you want to or need to. I'm going to jump back here to view again. A couple other things that you can do. I'm going to pull that down a little bit. So your flags allow you to basically denote that there's something going on with a specific email. And again, however you want to use your flags is completely up to you. Some people just use them as a way to sort. Some people use them as a way to filter. Some people actually use them as to-dos. Again, it's your personal preference, however you want to use them. I know Noah uses them pretty frequently for stuff. Noah, how do you use yours?
I live by my flags, quite honestly. But typically, you get so many emails in a day. I'll flag something if I don't have time that moment to attend to it, but I know it's something I have to go back to. So it's a really quick way for me to have kind of a to-do list, and then every morning I go in, look at all my flagged emails from the day before, and kind of just review them. And sometimes I've already resolved the issue, or sometimes it's just a great reminder, like, oh, I really need to get back to that person. That's pretty much how I use it. And then sometimes I'll do it by due date if it's time sensitive.
Okay. I use something else. I use rules to do some of that. I just pull things in different directions to do it. So I'll show you guys how to do rules as well. But flags are one way to do that. Another way to do it is by category. Some people like to categorize their stuff. So up here you have something called categories. It's a little thing that you can filter by. depending on what you want to do, if you just click in the category out by your mail there, it'll bring something in. Like right now, there's something called red category. I can rename that to like a client name. I can then color code that particular client with a color. And that way I know everything by that client is a specific color. So things coming in from them, I have a specific color assigned to it. The other thing that you can do is an actual category. So if you have something coming in with, you know, a specific project that you're working on, you might want to color code your projects a specific color. Sometimes I denote my stuff by, some of my clients are police departments. I denote that they're blue, so I know that it's, you know, police information coming in that way. But it's, again, it's all in how you want to do it. And a lot of this is just filtering your email and getting it in a way that makes sense to you so that you can kind of decide at a glance, which things do I need to tackle right then and there. So flags are one way to do it. Categories are another. And then I want to talk about layouts just a little bit inside of here. I did move my reading pane already down to the bottom. A couple other things that you can take a look at. Let's see here. There's your folder pane. Your folder pane is the one that's out on the left-hand side. Right now, it's set to normal. By default, that's where it's at. You can actually minimize it. So it looks like that. Goes down into little teeny tiny pieces down here at the sides. And again, it's just a matter of, do you like to see more of your mail, less of your mail? Do you like to be able to see the folders? If you're using a ton of folders inside of your inbox, chances are you're not going to want to use the minimal view. You'll want to use the full view because you'll want to be able to see the folders that you have inside of your inbox, and that's totally fine. But just so you know, that's available to you. You can completely turn it off as well. Does somebody have a question?
John Wascavage from Silver Spring Township.
Hey, how are you?
All right, pretty good. I'm not sure if you discussed this or touched on it, but just when you were hitting on the colors, that reminded me of in that circle there where it says the name. You're able to add a picture in there as well. I've been seeing some emails come through with a picture, and
Yeah.
would you go about doing that? I'm not sure if you discussed that.
No, I did not. You actually do that inside of your Office 365 account.
Oh, okay.
So you can do that from inside of there. And I actually have that window up. Let me pull that in here just a second. Show you where that is. Adjust my share screen. Okay, so you should see a different view right now. Up here at the top, you can either click on your username there, go into your account, or you can go into your settings, I think, too, and adjust it from inside of there. But basically, inside of my account, skip. This is what happens when you set something up like one day there. I think it's inside of your personal email, your personal info. You can start adjusting your photo. There it is, change photo. So if I was in my account, you'd actually see my smiling face up there.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna switch back my other screen here. So yeah, if you haven't adjusted your personal information, by all means, go ahead and do that. That way people can get a little picture of your smiling head every time they get an email from you. All right. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, so that was your folder pane. You can turn that off and on, however you want to do that. And then your reading pane, you can turn that to your right bottom or off. There are also a couple additional options inside of there. So, and again, this is personal preference. You can mark them red when viewing them in the reading pane. I don't like to do that. I only like to mark things as red once I've actually clicked on them, because that's my personal preference, because I don't use flags the way that Noah does. And I figure if something is unread, that's kind of how I judge what I need to do with something. But again, personal preference, how you want to do it, completely up to you. And the same thing with your reading pane, whether you have it on the top, on the bottom, turned off, doesn't really matter. It's whatever makes sense to you. But there it is again on the right. So personally, I like it on the bottom just from the standpoint of I like to be able to see my entire email, but that's me. And that way I can just read through the email there. So the other thing that you can do, and I'm sure you guys all know this, but anytime you get that double-headed arrow, you can drag your windows around a little bit to allow for additional information to be shown or not shown. Same thing with over here. You can drag these open and close as you need to. So depending on the screen that you're on and how much real estate that you actually have, give yourself the space that you need. All right. All right, let's get into some fun stuff. I know some of you have seen some of this stuff before, some of you haven't. I'm going to switch back to my home ribbon and the home screen there. So on this, there's a little spot called Quick Steps, which is right here. Quick Steps basically are rules light, and they allow you to start moving your mail around a little bit. And what they enable you to do, I'm going to click on the little drop down box there. You can move your mail to a specific folder. If you have a team that you work with fairly frequently, Outlook actually figures that out and will create a team email for you. It will allow you to reply and delete to an email. So if you're replying to it, it's actually going to delete the email that you're replying to. So just be aware of that. You can automatically choose to mail something to your manager. The way that it figures that out, if you have your organization defined inside of the Microsoft application, it will figure that out for you. Or if you're emailing somebody fairly frequently, it'll figure it out as well. There's a little bit of AI built into that, which is a little creepy, but it's not too bad. If your home screen doesn't have a Quick Step on it, you either may need to make your screen larger, so maximize the view that you have, or if you're working inside of or on the app instead of, let me take a look here. Bear with me for just a moment. So I'm thinking you might be on the online app and it may not have it on. I'm assuming that's exactly what's going on, Teresa. So if you're on the online app, it's not going to have Quick Step on there, but the full Office 365 one will. I don't believe that you have the option to use Quick Step from the online application of Outlook. And if you do, I don't know where it is off the top of my head because I'm not seeing it looking around real quick. So if you don't have it, bear with me for a few minutes because the online application for our Office does not have it, for our Outlook doesn't have it.
Okay.
So other things that you can do with Quick Step. You can do a new one, which allow you again to either move it to a folder, you can categorize it, move it, flag it, move it, new email to somebody, forward it to somebody. You can actually do a new meeting from a Quick Step and you can customize something. So what it's really nice for is if you have emails that are coming in that you want to put to a folder anyway, if you just click on the email, click on the Quick Step, it'll just move it to the folder for you instead of dragging and dropping it. You can also do it with a number of emails at one time. So basically, it's just a way to automate something very quickly, but you're not doing a tremendous amount of steps at any one given time, so there's no need to set up a rule for it. So basically, they took some of the quick functions that they thought people would need and then created something called a Quick Step. So if I created a folder inside of here, I can just right-click on my inbox, click on New Folder. Actually, I'm going to do it on my inbox. New folder. I'm going to call it Dave. So I now have a folder in my inbox called Dave. I want to take the stuff from Dave. I want to move it to, I want to choose my folder to the Dave folder. I'm going to save it. And now when I click on the new Dave folder, it'll move all of my emails from Dave into my Dave folder. There we go. Back we go. All right, so now all of my information from Dave is now in my Dave folder. Same thing with newsletters or things that you want to actually keep, but don't necessarily need them into your inbox. You can create a folder, drag them into there, or you can use that cool little quick step for that. I have one in my actual email box called resumes. So when I have people submit their resume, because they trickle in at, weird times, I'll just click it, it'll move right into the folder, and away we go, and I can take a look at it at another time because it's not something I need to attend to at that moment. So that's what quick steps do. And then the other thing over here with Move, you can again set other things up inside of here. And again, the only time you're going to want to use the Move thing is if you have more than one email at a time. For the most part, you're going to have a quick step for it otherwise. But if you have multiple emails that you want to pull, just create a folder for it, and then you can do a move all at one shot. All right. Any questions with quick steps or moves? Because those are pretty simple. Okay, so let's talk about rules. How many of you use rules currently? A couple of you. All right, I know Dave does, I know Noah does.
Find
'Cause
them
I've
a
taught
little confusing.
So they can be confusing. And if you think of them as a way to do multiple things at one time, it's a better way of thinking about the rule. So what you want to do is figure out what you want to have happen. So I currently have Dave's email selected. So I'm creating a rule based off of that particular thing at that point in time. So I pulled the rules wizard up so I could decide what I want to do with it. So which conditions do I want to have met here? Is it from somebody? Is it from a specific text? Is it something that's flagged for follow-up? What do I want to decide as my condition? So what do I actually want to have happen? Is it something that's sent only to me, maybe? Is it something that's marked with importance? Is it something that has specific words and a subject line, which is especially important? I set these up for detectives all the time when they have things coming in specifically from county that they want to keep in a folder. And they run this rule on their mailbox and it pops into that folder for them. So it's information that they need, but they don't necessarily need it into their inbox. Same kind of thing. It's information that I need, but I don't necessarily need it in my inbox. So I'm going to stuff it in a folder somewhere. So I'm going to take everything from Dave. I'm going to move it to the Dave folder. And then I can make an exception to it if I want to. Maybe I don't want things from Dave going into the Dave folder if it's marked with importance. So I'm going to set it to high, click OK. Next, I'm going to specify a name for this rule. I call it the rule of Dave. I'm going to turn my rule on. If you already have stuff in your inbox that you know is going to be affected by that rule, you can run the rule on the messages already there. No problem. I don't at this point. So I'm going to finish this. I'm going to turn my rule on. I'm going to tell Dave to send me something with high importance, and then send me something without high importance, if he would please. If he's paying attention, he probably isn't. And you can see the rule in action. Okay. So if you take a look at my box now, you'll see one that was sent with high importance, and you'll see one that's in the Dave folder. So he sent me one that was plain, which just dropped in here, and one that was sent with high importance, which is now in my inbox because my rule worked. So that's one rule that you can set up. Other questions on rules? Do you want me to walk through another one? Okay. So again, I think the important part is just figuring out what it is that you need. A lot of people will do them with specific words in the subject line, because if you get a lot of things from a list, you'll want to filter those out. So rules is great for filtering things and putting them in different places. So that's what that does. All right. How many of you use the search folders fairly frequently? Does anybody use search folders? Okay, a couple of you do. So you can use folders for searches. You can do that a couple different ways. So inside of your folders, you can do it from here if you want to do that. You can clean up your folders. You can do it that way. You can run a simple search and drop it into a different folder if you want to do that. I don't have enough mail to actually search on anything at the moment, so it's not going to give us a really good result. But when you do a search, you are able to search for a specific thing, and it'll actually pull them out and stick them in a different folder for you if you need to do that inside of Outlook. So there's that. Other things that I want you to take a look at. Let's see if there's anything else I missed before I move on here. Since I'm not going off of anything fun today. No, I don't think so. All right. So, and again, this is a brand new user for us, so it looks a little bit different than my normal one would. So bear with me here. All right. So normally, where this new Skype meeting is, that actually has Teams meeting on ours, and yours probably does too. So you can do a Teams meeting directly out of Outlook if you need to, for those of you with Teams. It will also double check in Teams if those people have their time blocked out for you, because you have the information already ready for you in Teams. So it'll double check to see what people have scheduled. So that's kind of nifty. So you can schedule those directly out of Outlook. You don't need to go to Teams to do that. Does anybody have any other questions with the calendar functions or the meeting functions inside of Outlook? Because they're not overly exciting and they're pretty straightforward. But I figured I would ask before I move on. Everybody good? All right. All right, so I'm going to jump back to emails, do a new email. And I'm going to move my screen so you guys can see this as soon as I figured out where it went. I think it's hiding behind all my Zoom windows. There it is. Okay. Yeah, let's get it on the right one. Okay, here we go. So on your actual email, there's a couple other things that you can do here with them. And one of the biggest things is something called Quick Parts. Let's have it pull in here quick. As soon as I can find it, there it is. Quick Parts enables you to basically put auto text inside of your email. And what that does for you is if you have something that you send out fairly frequently with the exact same wording in it, you can have Quick Parts do it for you. So you can have it typed up ahead of time. So this would be
Like a template.
like a template. You got it. So I could save that selection to my Quick Part gallery, click OK, and then the next time I come back, I can simply insert whatever my template is that I'm sending out, and it puts it in there for me, which is great when you have 2 or 3 paragraphs that you're sending out and you don't want to find the last email that you used it for, because then you have to go do a search for that, pull that email up, copy that, paste it in, and this way you can just pull up your Quick Parts, drop it in, and away you go. So that's what Quick Parts does. A couple other things that you can do in here. If you have a document that you know that you need to pull some information from, In this case, this particular user, because I'm using a training user today, doesn't have any files, but it will pull from your specific files. Like if you have a chart or a graph or a couple paragraphs from a Word document or something like that that you want to put in, it'll actually pull your document in for you. And that's in that document item right here. And then it'll pull up your, yep, go ahead.
Sorry to back you up a little bit, but
No,
I
it's
might have
okay.
missed what you said. The quick parts, how do you generate that?
So what you want to do is either pull the last email that you have that has the information in it,
Mhm.
select it, or type it again and then select it. Go to Quick Parts, and then save your selection to the Quick Part Gallery. That'll save it for the
Oh.
next time. Find it.
Okay. Yeah, it's grayed out right now. It's not letting me click on it because I don't
don't-
have anything
You don't have
saved.
anything selected. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. No, that's fine. No worries.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I talked about document items, and then you can also, as soon as I find it here, is link something to it. So if I have a document inside of SharePoint, and I know that you already have access to that part of SharePoint, I can link that document and link the document right inside the email that's inside of SharePoint that you would then have the access to. Yep, Tom, you have a question?
Yeah, how many quick parts can you save? How many?
I think I have like 8 or 10 in mine that I use, and you can probably keep going.
You just name them something different when
Yeah,
you.
you just keep renaming them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a limit. I haven't found it yet. All right. So that's those. So links, document items, got those. Is there anything else that I'm missing that anybody uses fairly frequently that they think other people should know about? Because it's one of those, like, I use so much of this so often that I don't think about it anymore. In the options, if you need to find it, that's where the blind carbon copy is. And you guys all know the difference between carbon copy and blind carbon copy? Okay.
Yes, even though people getting them don't always notice that it's a blind copy.
Yes. Yes. That is very true.
Be embarrassing.
There's voting buttons inside of here too. I don't know if anybody's ever used those, but you can do like a yes, no, or approve, reject inside of here. So those are available to you. You can turn those on. Has anybody ever done delayed delivery before? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's inside of here too. So you actually have to just open a message, just a new message, and then you can delay the delivery. Just click on that and then set up whatever parameters that you need. So there's those. All right.
Just curious, how do you use the voting buttons?
So let's say I wanted to turn this on to, approve, reject. I've added voting buttons onto the message.
Okay.
And then when it goes to the person, they'll see approve or reject on that
Okay.
email.
All right.
Yeah, you don't actually see it as the person that creates it, but the person that gets it does.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And then you get an email back that says that they have approved or rejected or said yes or no. So that's how that works. Other thing for those of you that use Post-it notes fairly frequently or flag things or whatever, Control-Shift-N inside of Outlook will actually bring up a real Post-it note on your screen for you. And you can pull that up from almost any program. So if you need a Post-it note to just write down a jotted note or a password or something like that fairly frequently, to switch between one window or another, Control-Shift-N will give you that Post-it note.
Where does that go, Dawn?
The Post-it note itself,
Yeah.
it doesn't really go anywhere.
Okay, it just kind of stays on your screen.
It just kind of stays on your screen until you close it. Yep.
Yeah.
So it really is literally a Post-it note. You want to like use it and then get rid of it.
Right.
instead of, taping it to your monitor forever or sticking it underneath your keyboard or not that anybody does that. I'm going to touch on contacts really quickly. So I'm going to close out of this email. No, I don't want to keep my draft. It's going to pause my screen sharing. So I want to switch that back. We're going to see that. That back up. I'm going to take a look at contacts. Obviously, I don't have any at the moment, but if I did, let's say that I had one inside of here, you are able to share your, yep, somebody say something? No, okay. So you're able to share your contacts if you need to. So if you have a contact that somebody else doesn't have and they want it, you can send it to them this way by sharing your contacts. If you have a group that somebody else doesn't have, like I have one called press releases. Inside of there is all the places that I send press releases to. If I need somebody else to have a copy of that, I can click on that particular group, click on share contacts, and it actually takes the entire group and sends it to somebody else so that they have the information that I then have. So that's important to know. Again, this is in your contacts, and share contacts is up here. Or you can forward a contact if you just want one set of things to go. So share contacts actually shares all of your contacts. Forward contact forwards a specific contact or a group to another person or persons.
And who does the share contact share it with?
Whoever you determine
So
you would like to share your contact with. So if
So
I click share
you pick
contacts.
one name, it would be the same thing as forwarding a contact? No.
So sharing contacts is kind of like opening up your entire contact list to somebody.
Okay.
Or if you want to just forward a contact, you're just making a copy of it essentially and sending it to somebody else.
One contact.
One contact or a group. So if you have a contact group, you could then send that contact group to someone.
So you could share your group of press people contacts
Mhm.
to Tom, and he would have the entire list.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm sharing the group, then yeah, he would have the entire list. And then I saw Dave raised his hand, being, a good kid.
I was just going to say that with the share, it's actually a shared contact, meaning that if I make a change to it, you'll see that change, or vice
Okay.
versa. As opposed to the forwarding, you get a copy of it, and then you can do whatever you want. I could delete it, you'll still have it.
Yep. So yeah, the share contact is kind of like one list that both of you are sharing, and the forward is a copy. All right. Okay, a couple other things that you guys need to know. As you are typing your emails, if you actually use the word attachment or attached, and you don't attach something, Word will prompt you, or I'm sorry, Outlook will prompt you to send your attachment because it knows that you've typed the word, it knows that something should be there, so it will pester you to attach it if you haven't already. If you guys get travel emails into your inbox from an airline or a car rental place, whatever, it will, especially if it has a date and a time on it, it'll put it into your calendar for you automatically, which is a little freaky. Yeah, Noah was saying that the attachment prompt has saved him quite a few times, and yep, me too. Plenty of times I've typed the word, see attached, and it's like, yeah, you need to attach something, thanks.
Whoever thought of that's a genius.
I know, right? The travel thing is actually kind of nice too. It's a little creepy again because of the AI, but it does automatically put things on your calendar for you, and it actually blocks out if it can read the email properly. Like if I have a going out flight and a coming back flight, it'll mark the time in my calendar appropriately. Which again, a little weird, but it does work. Couple other things that you should be aware of. There is a way to ignore conversations inside of Outlook. And let me find it here quick. I can never remember where it is. There it is. If you get CC'd on something and the conversation is going on forever and ever, amen, and you don't feel like please take me off this list, you can actually hit the word ignore up there, and it'll ignore the rest of those conversations and just dump them into your deleted items. But it does delete them and put them into your deleted items. But if it really isn't something that you need to be aware of and you don't need to worry about being CC'd on it, you can ignore the entire conversation. You can also pretty much unignore it, and it'll drop them all from your deleted items back into your inbox for you. So just FYI, that's a thing.
You hear that, Stacy? I'm not mentioning any names, but we get CC'd on 1,000 emails and follow-ups.
I have no doubt that you do. I would highly recommend that you use rules for some of those too, or quick steps for a lot of it, especially once you have the subject line. And then you can create a really quick rule that just does something else with it in case you have to go back and look at it. But yeah, you can just, move it right into the deleted items folder where you don't really need to worry about it. So there's that. For those of you, again, using Office 365, you've heard me say @mentions before. Do you remember me? I know Laura Allen has heard me say @mentions before. As you are typing an email, if you don't, let's say that I was typing something to Dave. So I have his name in my to box. And then I'm typing up the email and I realize, oh, there's something in here that Noah actually needs to know about. I can do @Noah Snyder. It will automatically put his name in the to box and he'll see it inside the email as well. It highlights his name in there, and basically the area of the email that he needs to be aware of is right there for him. So @mentions works for that. And then the other thing I want you to be aware of is the cleanup tool, which is right here underneath that ignore. If you have things in a conversation, it will basically remove redundant messages out of the conversation. So if you have a copy of a copy of a copy in the emails, it will actually delete out the copy of a copy of a copy. So all you have is the actual email that you need to have. So that's what that does. And that's another one of those. It's nice to have, especially if you're, 20 or 30 emails deep into something. It'll get rid of all the extraneous stuff that you just don't need to see. All right. Questions so far? All right, so let's talk about Power Automate for a few minutes. Some of you know it as Microsoft Flow. A couple things in there that I think are worth mentioning. So I'm going to jump screens again. Bear with me here while I flip over to that. As soon as I find it. I think I managed to close it. Nope, it's over here. So we are going to share that screen. Let's jump back to here. So if we take a look at our apps, inside of there's something called Power Automate. And then what this does is it'll create a workflow for you. And again, this is just another way to automate some of the repetitive tasks that you're doing over and over anyway. So turning on Power Automate, this is the screen that you get in templates. We're looking at templates right now. There's a couple in here I think that are worth mentioning. One of them is the Save Office 365 email attachments to OneDrive for Business. So what it will do is if you get something into your inbox that has an attachment to it, it'll automatically just save it right out to your OneDrive for you, assuming that you need every attachment that you get. If you don't bother with that one, or you're going to fill up your OneDrive fairly quickly, and then you're going to have to dig through that box too, which that's no fun. Let's see here. There's an approval process inside of here that you can get set up as well. So if you need your manager to approve something, let's actually filter by approvals. So you can start an approval when a new item is added. You can do that. You can request manager approval for a selected file, which is kind of nice. So if you take a look at some of these boxes, you can see that it's SharePoint. It'll then basically create an email that sends it out to somebody, say, hey, this new thing has been created. Can you approve it for me? And it starts that process for you. So instead of you uploading something into SharePoint, and then starting an email, and then having a conversation. It does it all for you automatically. And let's say I wanted to actually do that. I would click on it. Here's the process that it goes through. So it goes through SharePoint. I've uploaded my information. It looks at the Office 365 users to figure out who it needs to go through. You tell it who it needs to go to. So I would click in here, and I apologize. I haven't like signed the whole way into all of this stuff. It creates a notification to say that it's actually done it, uses the approvals, and then it sends out an email to your manager. So that's what it does. And again, you'll have to go through each one of those steps and set up some information, but once you set it up the first time, it just kind of goes through and does its thing for you. So that's what that one does. Let's jump back because I don't actually want to save that. And there are a ton of other approvals inside of here as well. So I would take a look at some of these because I know a couple of you that are my clients have been looking for approvals for certain things for quite a while. Whether it's for time off requests or anything else, you can probably do them with a Power Automate option inside of here. So it's just a matter of setting up the information one time, testing it, make sure it works properly, and away you go. There's also form responses for approval. So that would be one way to do a time off request. You could set up a form to do your time off request and send the response out for approval. And that one's over here in the corner. So that's what that is. Let's see here. For NOAA, there's actually one called Create a Task when email is flagged. So it'll automatically create the task for you, and it puts it in Microsoft To Do as well. So that's kind of nice. For those of you who have to send out any type of note fairly frequently, there's click a button to email a note. It'll actually create a button for you. You just click it and you set up the note text that you want to set up, and it'll email the note for you automatically, which is kind of cool. It's great for thank yous and other things along those lines. Again, it's just emailing, but it's something that you don't actually have to do. Basically, it's just a form letter that you can press a button and away it goes. So there's that. It'll allow you to block time as well. So if we take a look at events and calendar up here, let's say that I want to block out Office 365 calendar for an hour. It'll just automatically do that for me. So it creates a button, I can press my button and it will block out an hour of time. So instead of jumping over to Outlook, opening up my calendar, creating an informational piece in there, I can just click a button, tell it what time, and away it goes. So it does that. For those of you that are using Yammer, there's a way to post to Yammer for things that you've stuck into SharePoint. So again, I would look through some of these templates. Some of them are really, really helpful. Let's see here. There's another one that I really like in here called Running Late for a Meeting. It's right here. It's called Notify Coworkers About Running Late for a Meeting. Again, it's a little button push. If you know you're running late, you press a button and it'll notify everybody that's in your meeting that you're running a couple minutes late. So again, you just have to set up the information inside of there. And then other cool things that you can do inside of notifications. You can set reminders for 10 minutes if you need to do that. There's all kinds of information that you can actually set up to just notify you of other things. What was I going to say? Oh my gosh, it just like totally went out of my head. I hate doing these classes on Fridays because by the time I get to like Friday, my brain is like mush, unfortunately.
Is it Friday?
It is. It is Friday. Thank goodness. I know it all starts to run together in the end, but so the notifications are in there. There's productivity ones inside of here. A couple of other really cool things that you can do. And I would suggest that everybody do some of these. In the social media, there's one called Have I Been Pwned? If you haven't set this one up yet, by all means do so. What this does is it tracks the website called Have I Been Pwned? And its whole purpose in life is to figure out if your information is for sale somewhere, whether it's a username, whether it's a password, whether it's your personal information. So it pulls it every day to see if there's been new information there, and it will tell you when there's new information. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's your information, but it will tell you when there's new information there. And it just, basically it's a tickler reminder to go check that every now and then. And then for anybody that's using our anti-phishing stuff, we check that for you. But if you don't have that going, that is really nice to have. So you'll know, if your username and password has been compromised at any point. So that's what that one does. For those of you who do have social media, if you want to be notified for specific things, there's all kinds of really cool stuff in here. So like if somebody tweets about you through the day or your company or something like that, you can actually create a flow that replies back to them with something nice like, hey, thanks for tweeting about us. It's fantastic. Hopefully, go to our website and blah, 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 blah. You can actually create a tweet that does that and replies back to them and retweets all of their information. It'll also take their information, drop it into a spreadsheet for you, and maybe upload it into a CM, a content management solution that you might have, so you have it for marketing information for later. So there's all kinds of really cool flows that you can do for that as well. But that's where those are. So questions, what have you guys got? A very quiet group today.
I'll
Just
be
have to-
very honest. I'm having a tough time following along from one thing to the next because everything's so new to me that I'm looking at. So I'm struggling to kind of pick up on each piece.
The best thing I can tell you to do is do one tiny little piece at a time. Try it out and then move to the next one. Because it's kind of like riding a bike. I mean, you struggle, and finally you just kind of get it. And it's the same kind of thing with Office 365. There's so much stuff in here that there is no way to wrap your arms around it and kind of digest it at one time. So the best thing I can tell you to do is do one little thing like, oh, that seems like that would really be helpful. Let's try that out and do it and see how it goes. And if you like it, okay, fantastic, that worked. Let's try the next thing out. Because I know you guys are using Teams.
Mm-hmm.
And you're really in depth into Teams. There's a bunch of little automate things inside of here for Teams. I don't know if you saw the Teams training. If not, I'll get that stuff to Jana for you guys. There's a way to actually post to Teams right out of Outlook. So if you have an email in Outlook that the information inside of there actually needs to go to a team, you can basically just send an email to that particular team and it shows up there.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of neat stuff like that too. And somebody's asking if I'd be able to do something specific about using your calendar. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, because there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do. And for those of you that use, Google calendars and calendars from other places and calendars on your phone, and none of it all syncs together, there's actually a way to sync all of that data together and have it show up on one calendar instead of 4 of them. So I know I'm in that boat too. I just never taken the time to actually do it, but there is a way to get it all syncing.
Don, looks like there's a message from Donna Hunter. Hi, Donna. She's asking if you could do a session on advanced functions using your calendar in Outlook.
Yep.
So we'll make
You
a
bet.
note for that. A question from Teresa.
How to embed a link. Where's that at? Is it on the, is it something that you saw on Automate, Teresa, or is it something else that you were looking for?
Sorry, I had to unmute.
Oh, it's all right.
No, like if you're sending an email and you find something on a website or something and you want to say, instead of copy pasting the website location,
Yeah.
you could say click here and it takes them there. I can't remember how to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me pop that open for you. Just a second here. Let me switch screens again. Bear with me. All right, here we go. So what we'd want to do is just do a new email. And catching just a little bit. There we go. So this is a way to do a link. So what you'd want to do is click on whatever thing that you want to use as your link, right? I'm going to use the word link in this case. If you right click on it, it'll allow you to come down to link, insert link, and then this is where the address would go. of whatever it is you want to link. Click OK, and it creates the link for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right. Well, it's been real, folks. If you guys have any other requests for classes, please let us know. We are happy to do pretty much whatever you guys want to see. So let us know. It sounds like we have one request for something to run advanced functions in calendar. Happy to do that. And like I said, anything else that you guys want to see, just let us know. You have my email address. You can let us know on Facebook. I don't care where it is. Send me a carrier pigeon. Doesn't matter. As long as he doesn't have COVID, I'm good with that. So, all right, guys.
Dawn.
Yep.
Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend.
Have a
Take
great
care.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
Joe.
See you guys.